Hi, my name is Lucy Bars, and this is my industry research screencast for human resources. So what is human resources? Human resources specialists usually manage the employee's life cycle. They screen, recruit, interview, and place workers into new positions. They also deal with the relationships amongst the employees and keep track of all the files that relate to any sort of employees and their issues and any of their progress. And they also demonstrate the knowledge of any sort of regulations amongst human resources that they'll have to relay to the rest of their employees. So what are their everyday tasks? Some of which I said before are to prepare records related to any sort of hiring or firing or any sort of promotions, explaining the policies to the rest of the employees, addressing any types of issues or complaints amongst the employees, reviewing applications and working to select the right employees, or refer them to hiring managers or other positions, interviewing and contacting any sort of applicants, and helping with any new employee orientation and making sure that they are settled into the company. So what sort of skills does human resources require? Human resources requires effective communication. Obviously, they'll have to be able to talk to those around them within the office and convey what they have to say in the most effective and clear manner that they can. Active listening and oral comprehension is super important, and that just means being able to fully listen to those around them and understanding what those people are trying to tell them without interrupting. This is super important whenever an employee might come to them to give a complaint or concern. Critical thinking is super important. That just means using logic and reasoning to find some sort of solution or conclusion to a problem. And this sort of has to do with deductive reasoning, because that's the ability to apply their knowledge to produce answers to any sort of issues. And then writing and written comprehension has to do with being able to convey their thoughts effectively within their writing, and also being able to understand the information that others have presented to them within the writing that they're given. What knowledge do human resources specialists require? Human resources specialists have to know how to go about the process of recruitment and selection, and especially like training. Knowing how to go about this in the proper way is very important, and knowing how to deal with compensation and negotiation. They also have to know how to go about administrative procedures. This is just as simple as knowing how to organize the files and the records of all the employees and maintaining that in an organized way. Understanding how to go about strategic planning, resource allocation, and any sort of leadership technique that they'll have to display amongst their employees. And then understanding how to evaluate customer and employee satisfaction. This has to do with knowing their customer needs and their employee needs to make sure that there's the proper satisfaction that they want to produce within the office. So technological developments is super important when understanding this industry, because the new use of online sites and software plays a huge role in recruitment and administrative tasks. And hopefully these new softwares will increase efficiency for their entire recruitment process, as they can now hopefully do it through an online system as opposed to having to go in person or through emails and phone calls. It'll make it a much more organized process, and it'll be helpful to quickly manage and store the files that they have to keep track of. So how does globalization affect human resources? Globalization really plays into the huge emphasis on diversity in the workplace and how diversity will directly affect the way companies will recruit employees and manage their employees. They'll have to understand how to better manage the employees when they're coming from different backgrounds and what this means about how they'll have to change their processes. And many human resources managers are now seeking much more diverse employees in order to increase the range of skills that their company has as a whole. Demographic changes. This is kind of similar to how globalization plays a role, but labor forces are becoming more and more diverse, and they'll have to change the way they approach the people coming from different backgrounds. Also, there's likely to be a bigger concentration of employees from the older generation, and a restlessness of young workers, how they're going to deal with shorter retention rates, and increasing in female employees, understanding that this means they'll have to deal with harmony between the male and female employees and dealing with different complaints amongst inequality of different male and female employees, and how to deal with different benefits for male and female employees. So the environment and human resources, human resource specialists often work in offices, they have full-time business hours, and they may have to go to different job fairs, college campuses, or meetings in order to work on recruitment. Human resources specialists value cohesiveness amongst their employees, so they value non-competitive environments. And this is really important, the outlook for future human resources. So human resources is actually expected to grow of about 7% from now to 2026, and this is a little bit above average, so that's a positive thing. And the services of human resources will be required to handle much more complex employment laws and benefits just because of how complex the options are beginning to become. And then, like I said before, the technological developments are going to cause a huge adjustment in human resource work, and this can be sparked by the increase in artificial intelligence, such as how artificial intelligence will play a role in onboarding of new employees, or even how they'll recruit new employees by maybe helping to identify the implicit biases that play a role in recruitment, and then helping them to find more diverse applicants. So for tools for learning more about human resources and about the industry and its different sectors, you can go to different sites such as ONET Online, the Bureau of Labor Services, and IBIS World, and these will help you just sort of find out different statistics and different information about the industry, and more specifically, the skill sets that you might need to know for the industry. Thank you, and goodbye.